Okay, let's be honest for a second. Have you ever hesitated before walking into a room, literally paralyzed by the fear of being judged for something that was completely out of your control? Maybe you were running a bit late, or, looking a little messy after a rough morning, and you just knew people were going to jump to conclusions. Well, we've all been there, right?
So today, in this explainer, we're diving into understanding maxims, universal truths, and philosophies in literature. And more importantly, we're going to see how literature actually acts as this incredibly powerful tool to cultivate real-world empathy. We'll look closely at how writers use these specific literary devices to completely shift how we view and ultimately treat the people around us.
Section 1. The Umbrella at the Crossing.
To really wrap our heads around these concepts, let's look at this beautifully written story from an alternative learning system module in the Philippines. Picture this scene with me. It's a muddy road in Abuyog, Leyte. Rain is just falling softly over the path leading up to the community learning center. And right near a crossing, we meet Marlon. He's a learner standing under the roof of this tiny store, holding a plastic envelope to protect his notebook. His slippers are caked in mud, and his shirt smells faintly of copper smoke, because he actually spent his early morning helping his uncle dry coconuts.
So Marlon looks up at the gray sky, and he's seriously considering just turning around and going home. He's already late for class. And right here we see this very real, heavy burden of shame that he's carrying. He actually whispers to himself, "Maybe they will laugh at me again. Maybe they will think I am not serious." It's such a heartbreaking snapshot, isn't it? It perfectly captures how vulnerable we feel when we're struggling just to keep up. But then, a local vendor named Aling Nina notices how worried he is. She pops open an old umbrella and offers to walk with him. When Marlon hesitates, she drops this absolute paradigm-shifting piece of advice. She tells him, a person's worth is not measured by how fast he arrives, but by how bravely he continues. Wow. That brilliant thought just sticks in Marlon's mind like a little beacon of light. As they're walking together through the mud, Marlon starts looking around at his peers who are heading to the exact same center. He sees a young mother carrying her child. He spots a worker still wearing his faded shirt from the market, and it hits him. Everyone has a reason for being late or tired or quiet. They are all carrying these invisible weights, children, tools, old fears, and even dreams they had almost forgotten about.
They finally make it to the center and the teacher welcomes them in. But look at exactly what the teacher says. In this room, we do not ask why you arrived late before we ask how we can help you continue. This is totally crucial. Think about how this single sentence instantly flips the environment, from one of harsh judgment to a place of radical, unconditional support.
By the time the day is over, that one simple interaction has completely transformed Marlon's entire perspective on education and on his peers. Before heading home, he writes this incredibly profound sentence right in his notebook. No road is too muddy when people walk with understanding. All right, moving on to Section 2, Extracting the Guiding Lines.
It's a really beautiful story, isn't it? But let's dig a bit deeper to see how the author actually built this powerful message of empathy using formal literary tools. Like, what makes these specific lines stick with us? Well, in the study of literature, these aren't just pretty words. They actually fall into 3 distinct academic categories: maxims, universal truths, and philosophies. Let's break these down so you can easily spot them in literally whatever you read.
First up is the maxim. Basically, a maxim is a short statement that gives a general rule, advice, or a lesson about life. You can think of it as a punchy, direct guideline for how to act when you're faced with a tricky situation.
Next, we've got the universal truth. This is an idea about life that so many people can understand and experience, completely regardless of their age, where they live, or their personal background. It's essentially an undeniable fact of the human condition that connects every single one of us.
And finally, we have philosophy. In a literary context, a philosophy is a way of thinking or believing about life, people, and what is truly important. It's the overarching belief system that guides a character's worldview and dictates how they treat others.
Section 3. Maxims, Truths, and Philosophies.
Okay, so how do these academic definitions actually map onto that emotional story we just went through? If we break this down, when Ollie Nena says, a person's worth is not measured by how fast he arrives, that is a classic maxim. It's direct advice: don't judge by speed, but by perseverance. Then we have, every person has a story. That is a universal truth. Everyone shares the reality of having experiences, struggles, and dreams. And finally, kindness begins when we choose to listen. That represents a core philosophy. It's the absolute belief that empathy, respect, and understanding should actively shape everything we do.
Let's move into Section 4, Applying Literature to Life. Now, identifying these literary devices is awesome, but why does this actually matter to us in the real world? Well, consider the contrast shown in the story. Our immediate human instinct is so often to judge someone based on arriving fast, asking them why they're late. But the teacher demonstrates this deeply empathetic approach, asking how to help them continue bravely. The literature is using these concepts to literally rewire how we react to inconvenience and frustration.
And this brilliantly illustrates our main takeaway here. To truly value people is to respect their dignity and acknowledge their hidden struggles. True understanding requires us to look past the surface, past the muddy slippers and the late arrivals, and really acknowledge the unseen circumstances that are shaping a person's choices.
To ground these literary concepts in everyday reality, just look at the actual circumstances these learners faced in our source text. People are juggling heavy work like drying copra right alongside family responsibilities. They're managing childcare while actively trying to learn. They're overcoming harsh weather, long distances, and crazy transport issues. And underneath all of that, they're battling the very real fear of mockery or judgment from their peers. These aren't just fictional scenarios. These are real, gritty situations people navigate every single day. And that brings us to Section 5, the power of empathy. This really highlights the ultimate reason why we analyze literature in the first place. It teaches us the absolute transformative power of empathy. Marlon learned a lesson that day that goes way beyond the classroom walls. Every person has a story, and kindness begins when we choose to listen. Analyzing maxims and philosophies in literature isn't just some academic exercise to pass a test. It actually trains our brains to practice this exact, profound kindness in real life. It teaches us to pause, to give people the benefit of the doubt, and maybe offer an umbrella when someone is stuck in the mud.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Everyone around you has a story, a burden, a hidden reason for why they are where they are today. The real question is, are you ready to listen?